Agora sim. Agora sim, entramos ao vivo. Deixa eu ver se tá todo mundo. Aí. Então, pessoal, primeiramente, né? Deixa eu ver aqui o seguinte. Beleza. Então, estamos ao vivo para todo mundo. Beleza. Então, hoje a gente vai ter um meetup em inglês, né? A gente vai ter um convidado muito legal, que vai ser o Lucas. Ele é CEO e fundador aqui do Widgetbook. Vamos trazer ele para o palco e a gente vai começar nosso papo aqui em inglês, beleza?
Olá.
Olá. I got the introduction in Portuguese, so we're gonna start now in English. So that is it. You can take the stage and brief presentation for yourself and be free.
Awesome. Yeah, first of all, thanks, Alan. And yeah, unfortunately, we need to switch to English now because my Portuguese is very rusty, unfortunately. But I think we can also do it in English. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And then it would be amazing. Do you currently already see my screen?
Yeah. I will add here and I leave the stage. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Obrigado. Okay, awesome. So today I'd like to talk to you about how you can simplify your app development and also your UI reviews by using Widgetbook. And as Alan already said, I'm Lucas, co-founder and CEO of Widgetbook. And in the beginning, I always like to ask you in the audience, and maybe you can write in the comments, have you already heard about Widgetbook before? So basically before this session, was there already some point in time where you already had the chance of, I don't know, reading an article about Widgetbook, seeing a video, seeing a tweet, anything about Widgetbook, then you can leave a comment. And what would also be amazing is if there's already anyone here in the audience that already used Widgetbook. Would be amazing for me to read how you are already using Widgetbook. Would be cool to hear. But for everyone who has not yet heard about Widgetbook, I'd like to give you a brief introduction first. We are primarily building an open source package and are very community focused. So on the left side, you can see, for example, one of our after parties after a big Flutter conference that we organized together with our Flutter friends. So we are going to all the major conferences, often sponsor them, and are really close to the community. And on the right side, you can see the core team of Widgetbook. But the great thing is we already have more than 60 contributors by now who have been actively helping us build the package, and over 2,000 active users in our Discord server. So fortunately, there's a bigger community around Widgetbook already. And we've been featured by Google's Flutter team as experts for both component-driven development and also for UI reviews. So Google featured us, for example, at the big Flutter Forward conference, and yeah, gave a quick demo during the keynote there. But enough of the introduction. What are we going to learn today? So today we're going to learn how we can build our widgets in isolation, how we can catalog our components in our own component library or design system, and how we can review all of our UI changes in our pull requests. And then also optionally, we can also invite our designers to simplify the collaboration and the review process with them as well. But this presentation is going to be really developer focused. So in case you don't have a designer in your team, no worries. This presentation is still for you. And with that, let's start with a demo app that we built. Don't laugh too hard. Unfortunately, I don't know why my iOS simulator isn't working today, and that's why I had to get this web build of the application up and running. But I guess you can still follow along. So basically, we built a demo app here, which is our groceries app. And what this grocery app does is we have the chance. I can also reload quickly. And we basically have the chance of adding any ingredients to our basket. So if we, for example, want to shop some mangoes, we add a mango, let's add 2 avocados and maybe also a banana. On our basket screen, we can then see exactly what we shopped and also see the total. We could also add some avocados from here, see the total is going up. And we can do all of that with the user account. And in our case, we could do it, for example, with this user of John Doe. And that is basically our demo app. And as I mentioned, one of the value propositions of Widgetbook is you can build your widgets and can test your widgets in isolation. And I wanted to start with a real world problem, first of all, to check in the end if you have it as well in your development process. And then the question is, what can we do about it? And the challenge that I have now for you or for us in this call is we would, for this screen here, love to test all the different states that this page could have. So as I mentioned, it's a user screen here. And the question now is, how does this screen look like after I verified my email, one state? The other state that we like to test is how does this screen look like when my user is not verified, so the verification failed, and how does this screen look like when the page is still loading? So these are all the 3 states that I'd like to test, and to give you some more insight in what we actually built here, let's quickly jump into our IDE, and I can zoom in also a bit for you, that it's easier to see. So that's in the end the page that we wrote here. So it's our account data view, and we're basically building a view shell in here that has some children, and one is an account card where we basically have the username, in this case our John Doe, and then in here we have the verification that we built. I don't know how interactive this session can be here today, because I haven't seen any comments for the first question. So I'm just trying again. Does anyone have an idea how we could test now, how we could verify now as a developer? How does my widget look like, for example, for the state that this email was successfully verified? How can we do it? Okay, no comments yet. Maybe I'm giving the first remark here. So what we could do is we could change the line of code here. So we could, for example, say this user is not verified. In this case, do a hot restart and then see it. That could be one option. And we basically didn't see the loading state right now. And the question now is, what do we do for a user that is not verified? So basically, where I'm trying to get here is we have to do some changes to the code to get it. And the issue could be that this code in the end makes it to production, because in here right now, we're changing the production code. And it's also difficult for us to check the loading state of our widget. So in the end, testing all these different states is really tedious with this example. And what I now like to present you with is a solution that allows you to basically build your widgets in isolation and test all of these different states rather quickly. And this solution is Widgetbook. And Widgetbook in the end serves as a different preview of your Flutter app. So it's like a Flutter app inside your Flutter app, and you can basically easily preview all of the different widgets that we just saw. I mean, the only limitation is here I used dark mode. In here I used light mode. That is something that I can also quickly change. Whoops. So now we have the dark mode as well. I'm coming to the add-ons later. But basically with Widgetbook, I now have the chance of just by one mouse click testing those different states. So could, for example, test the loading state, and it just shows up for us here like this. We could just test the data stage, where basically we have a user that is verified, and the other stage, we have an error here. And with Widgetbook, there was a change of a couple of seconds, and I didn't have to touch the code here at all, so we don't need to worry that it is something that we push to production. That was kind of the introduction, how you can use Widgetbook for development later. The question now in the beginning is, okay, how can we actually set it up? How can we get our Widgetbook up and running? And with that, let's jump to the code again. We don't need our demo app at that point anymore. And what we can do is we can create a separate folder in our Flutter app that is called Widgetbook. You can also call it catalog or component library or widgets, whatever. We called it Widgetbook here, and I would recommend you to follow a monorepo approach. A monorepo approach is basically an approach where you outsource your components in a separate package that is then a lot easier for you to reuse later on. That's why I would usually recommend you to do that. And then you basically have a Widgetbook next to your lib folder, and in here you then first of all have a pub/YAML file, and in this pub/YAML file you are using our Widgetbook dependencies. Our first is the Widgetbook annotation, then you have the Widgetbook generator and the general Widgetbook dependency as well. And with those three dependencies, you are already set. And as it already suggests, with the annotation and the generator, we have an annotation-based code generator that comes in really handy now. Because what you can do with Widgetbook, you can easily catalog your widgets in Widgetbook. And you can do so, first of all, for very simple widgets. So if we, for example, do something very easy, for example, just an icon button here. If we would just like to build an icon button, we can write our add use case annotation. And then we need a name for the use case and a type for the use case. Name could be default. Type, in this case, could be an icon button. The design link, we can ignore that for now. And then we just need the method to build this icon button, where we're then returning the button. And then we need to mock the required parameters. And the required parameters here are an icon and a function. And once we mocked it, what we're able to do is, I can also realign it now. What we can then do is we can easily see that icon button shown here in Widgetbook. And the great thing is, because we mocked the parameters here, we basically mocked all the dependencies of the widget. We basically only have the pure UI, and we are sure that there's no logic in our widgets. So it also really helps us to build, in the end, to follow a great structure, a great practice for us to make the code even more readable, reusable, and maintainable. And the feature that I showed you in the beginning was a bit more complex. So we didn't only include one component here, but in the end, we included our account screen here in Widgetbook in the specific views. So we have, for example, our account data view here. And this account data view, in the end, takes some required parameters as well, takes a user, and it takes a function. And we can then, once again, just mock the required parameters. So for the user, for example, we mocked it in a way that we have John Doe, as a user, and we have a label. And what we already did here now is we introduced something that is called knobs. And knobs allow us to test our widgets in all these widget-specific parameters. So in our case, for the user, we can now on the fly change the value in the UI. So we can on the fly change the name of the user, or we can on the fly change the label of our data view. And how that looks like, I'm happy to show you. So we have our account data view here. And in the UI, we now see John Doe. And we could change it now to anything. And what will be great to see is once we have a name that is long enough, we see that we basically wrap the text here. So we implemented it properly, but usually it could also happen that we have an overflow here, which we really took care of. So you can use Widgetbook really during development already to make sure that you can very quickly test all the different states of your app and all the different text inputs that you like. You can, for example, now test the state of is verified just very quickly, yes or no. Don't need to fuss with any code in your app. You can just do it with the UI, and that allows you as a developer, to really very quickly test all of your different scenarios. And you can do so with our knobs, but you can do so as well. Let's have some input here again. We can also do it with add-ons. And our add-ons allow us to test our widgets in all the different app specific, all the different global parameters. So what we can do here with Widgetbook, we can basically test our widgets now in all the different device sizes that we care about without having to rerun our emulators. So we can, for example, choose to test our widgets on an iPhone 13 or on an iPad. And these are only 2 device options. So you can test as many devices as you like. And how that is working in our Widgetbook, we have a main.dart file. And in here, we are, so basically what we do here is we have a run app command for our Widgetbook. And this add app annotation basically automatically generates the structure of our Widgetbook once you run our pub build runner again. And here we are just returning the Widgetbook. And we have a device frame add-on. And that device frame add-on takes devices. And in here, just with 2 lines of code, I configured 2 devices. But we could configure a lot more devices. So we could, for example, just write devices here. We could also write .android and then have some Android devices. We could go for desktop and have some desktop devices. So you can add a lot more than just that. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is to use those add-ons. And there are a lot more add-ons to use. So I mean, I already showed you the theme add-on here. You can also have a language, have a local add-on to very quickly check, for example, how does my widget look in English or in German. Can change the alignment. You can also go ahead and inspect your widgets in more detail. And these are only a few add-ons that I used in this demo app, but there are a lot more add-ons that you can actually use. In the end, you are using Widgetbook to build your widgets in isolation, to be able to test them quicker. And the great thing is that while you are building your widgets with Widgetbook, Widgetbook automatically creates a catalog for all of your widgets. So basically, by default, Widgetbook creates your own component library or your own design system, where you then have the chance to see all of your widgets, first of all, on an atom level, but then you can also see your widgets on a screen level. And so you can basically really build your entire design system with Widgetbook. And we also allow you to for example, put your design system colors into Widgetbook, your design system radius, your spacing, your text styles. So all of that is possible with Widgetbook as well. So basically, it's a developer tool first. So you first build your widgets quicker with it, but then you have the chance to also use it as a catalog. Basically, as a side benefit, we generate entire component library or design system for you. And because we have this annotation-based code generator, you just need to make sure that with every update, you're just running the build runner in the Widgetbook folder only. So no worries about runtimes. And when you're running the Widgetbook, and when you're running the build runner in the Widgetbook folder, Widgetbook automatically gets updated for you. And these are the features for our open source package, Widgetbook. And I'm basically happy to show you what we did here. So we learned that testing our use cases can really take forever. With that, Widgetbook gave us superpowers to do it. Then in Figma, you can create a design system. In Flutter, it's quite difficult usually, but here Widgetbook really helped you. And the benefits of the free-to-use open source Widgetbook are you can build your widgets quick in isolation. You can quickly test all of your widgets in the different use cases using our knobs and add-ons. Side benefit, your UI gets decoupled from business logic, which makes it a lot more reusable, maintainable, and testable. And our app is now also testable without even having to wait for the backend team to finish the API, because we can already just use the UI. And all of our widgets are already cataloged in our own design system. And if you'd like to get started with Widgetbook, you can just do so for free. It's open source, so you can go to docs.widgetbook.io to get started. And that is the part of the open source Widgetbook. I'm now happy to also jump into Widgetbook Cloud, which helps you with your UI reviews. So basically right now we talked about the development with the open source package, but we haven't touched on the review. I'm happy to jump into the review, but before I do that, does anyone have any questions already?
So we have some question here.
Awesome.
So first, the integration with YouTube don't work well, so I take it and paste it here in StreamYard. So the first one was the Gustavo. Gustavo said, any estimates for code preview feature, code snippets?
So basically what Gustavo wants is Gustavo wants to see the code of the widget in Widgetbook, and that is a feature that is highly requested. And I'm happy to share that we are working on it already, and I'm sure. I mean, it's difficult at this point in time to give you an estimate because we are still validating with our users what code do our users exactly want to see and where in the UI should we position it. But Gustavo, if you like, you can send me either a direct message on any preferred social media, or you can also try lucas@widgetbook.io, send me an email, and I'm happy to invite you to those user tests as well. Then you can already participate in it and definitely get the latest updates.
Great. That's awesome. I think this is the same for Elizabeth. This book reference library. Can we capture the code? Similar, something. Have you started?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's similar. So basically, what we already have with Widgetbook, we already have the preview solution for the widget for the UI. But I mean, the code, what you can do with Widgetbook, especially as a developer, right? You can always see the code here in the IDE, and then have the Widgetbook here. So basically, that's what you can do right now already. If you really want to get started already with it, what I can also, it's my local machine here. Anyway, so there is basically also currently an open pull request already where a user built an add-on that shows the code. Here it's a bit hacky. That's why we didn't include it like this. But if you definitely need to have something already right now, you can use it. You can have an add-on that shows your code, but we'll integrate it soon.
Great. So yet in this section was a question from Fabio. On the device frame, I think can we select device font, word, or scale?
Yes. So basically, it's not on the device frame. It's basically a different add-on. So I didn't include it in the demo app. Whoops. But what you can do is, if you go to docs.widgetbook.io, you will find a list of all the different add-ons that we support. And in here, if the internet would be better, we would basically see a list of add-ons, and exactly here. And we have a text scale add-on. And I can highly recommend you to check out the text scale add-on, because with the text scale add-on, you, for example, have the chance, as you can see here, to check the text scale factor of 1, or for example of 1.25. You can customize it, and again, it's just one line of code to add for you, and then you have a text scale add-on.
Great. And one more from Fabio. Can we package that all one package in our app?
Yeah, so basically you can. So there are different approaches of how you can use Widgetbook. You don't need to follow a monorepo structure. You can also just put it all in your lib folder. I would just recommend you to not do it, because it's a lot easier to reuse your widgets afterwards, especially if you might have a situation where you're building one design system that is being used across multiple apps. Especially at that point in time, it becomes really useful to basically have a separate Widgetbook package.
Great. So I think this is it for this first part.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, but thanks a lot for the questions, and keep them coming.
Okay.
Always happy to include you. Okay, and with that, let's jump to the second part. Let's talk about reviews. And first of all, how does app development look like today? So right now, what we're doing is we're designing, usually in Figma as a designer. It's being handed over to us developers. We're implementing it. Then we have a pull request. We have a code review in the pull request. Afterwards, we merge the pull request. Then QA tests it. Then it goes into deployment and is being released to our users. This process works really well if we have a bug in the code. Because if we detect a bug in the code, we have a set process for it, and it just gets fixed by the developer. Quick feedback loop, easy. It also works fine if the QA tester detects a bug. Developer fixes it. The issue is, however, what happens if there's a UI bug? Often that gets overlooked because we usually don't have a UI review process, and in the end, no UI review can lead to bad UI and UX, and that can lead to churning customers. So we might really have poor user experience in the end. I'd like to help you with that, and that's why we built Widgetbook to simplify our UI reviews. What we do is basically exactly at that point where you have your developer, your code review, you also have a UI review. So we're integrating UI reviews in your pull requests. And we are doing that because we hope that in the end, we ensure you that we catch all of your UI changes in your pull request. And because we find all of your UI changes in the pull request, we can ensure that we really find any UI bug. Because, of course, we only need to review the UI that changed. Very similar to the code, you only need to check those code lines that changed, and same for the UI. And with that, we are shifting left in the testing process, meaning we are testing the UI review now very early. And because we definitely find all UI changes, we can be sure we capture all of them. And because we capture them here so early, it's also very easy and very quick for us to iterate on the UI changes. And our customers can always be happy because we know that the user experience is going to be great. And with that, let's jump into Widgetbook Cloud. And with Widgetbook Cloud, we're going to learn now how we can share our widgets with our entire team. So not only with developers, but also, first of all, with other developers, but then also with designers, QA testers, product managers, anyone involved in product development. How we can then detect all of our UI changes and how we can then review them. So let's get started. And let's first of all see hosting in action. And with that, let's jump to GitHub. In case you're not using GitHub, in case you're using GitLab, Bitbucket, Azure DevOps, any other Git provider, no worries, we got you covered as well. So we have feature parity. But as most of our users are using GitHub, I'm happy to give you the demo also with this GitHub project. And in the end, Widgetbook is being included in your CI/CD pipeline, meaning whenever you are pushing a new commit to your repository, we are hosting one Widgetbook build for exactly that commit on Widgetbook Cloud. And because we have an integration with your Git providers, you can access your Widgetbook straight out of GitHub. So we see a check here, Widgetbook build, and we can just click on details and then see our Widgetbook exactly here. So we can now see the build. We have some more information about the build. Clicking on visit, we then see the build here now live in Widgetbook. And we can access our Widgetbook via that link, but we can also access it via the Widgetbook Cloud UI here. So could, for example, see a list of all of the different builds. So we have, in the end, versioning here. So for every different build, we have a Widgetbook, and we can always access it. And again, by clicking on visit, our Widgetbook becomes visible. And we have exactly the same features that we know locally. And anyone from your team that has a Widgetbook account can access the Widgetbook. So in case I would share this link now, for example, with someone from you guys, you would not be able to access the Widgetbook because you are not part of my workspace and of my Widgetbook project, and thereby no chance for you to access it. And that's basically a security measure that we take for our users to really make sure that only the rightful users are able to access it. Does anyone have any questions on hosting?
For a while, not yet.
Okay, I mean, no questions are also a good sign. Then it was well explained, and in the end, an easy to understand feature is also good.
Okay, great.
Okay, awesome. Then I'm proceeding with the review feature, and basically, as I mentioned, with the review feature, we allow you to have full insurance that we capture every UI change. So we integrate it in your pull requests, and in the end, very similar to a code review, where in the code you can basically see exactly what line of code changed, and you therefore don't review the entire repository, but you only review what changed. You should have exactly the same chances visually. So you should not only, as a developer, check what lines of code were changed, but you should also always validate for yourself what UI changes did I cause, and did I want to have those UI changes? And you should do the same for your fellow developers on your team. You should also verify the UI that they changed, if that is in the end working great. And for that, we integrate with your pull request and have another check. So we could again access the Widgetbook build, and we could also access our Widgetbook review now. And we can either access it again straight out of GitHub, or we could access it via our Widgetbook Cloud UI as well. And what we can then see here is a side-by-side comparison between, that's how my primary button looked before on the left side, that's how it looks now on the right side. And because you are cataloging not only your atoms, but also your molecules and entire pages in Widgetbook, we can not only show you the atom, but we show you all the different pages this button was used in. And this button was used also in our basket view, in this use case, and also in this use case. And if the use case here, or if the widget is a bit more complex, it might be not so easy to see exactly what changed. And that's why we also built a toggle diff button that highlights now for us in pink exactly what changed. So we can be really sure that we not only captured all of the UI changes, but that we also identified those UI changes and can then make a conscious decision as developers, first of all for ourselves, if all of these changes were intended, but then also by our fellow developers during code review. They can always verify what we or what you built. That is the basic concept of the review feature. I now like to show you some more detailed features here. But first of all, does anyone have any questions until now?
Yeah, we got one from Fabio. I think this is delayed, but this is, can we use some type of integration with Jira, with Widgetbook?
So the answer is yes and no. So Fabio, my question for you would be, what Git provider are you using? And let's say you're using GitHub. GitHub already has very advanced integrations with Jira, and you can basically use GitHub's integration also for Widgetbook. We don't have our own integration written for Jira or other project management tools yet, because so far the GitHub integration was always sufficient. But here again, in case you're trying Widgetbook and you feel like you're missing something, I mean, just let us know, and we're happy to help.
Great. He answered it using GitHub. So I think just Fabio asked.
Okay, awesome. And then we proceed.
Okay.
Basically, I think where Fabio also came from with the question is, how do I make sure that I invite my colleagues properly to the build, that they are notified properly when they need to review something, and how do I also give feedback? And all of that is covered in Widgetbook Cloud. So what we can do is, if you want to leave feedback here, if you want to have some change, for example, we can leave a comment. And we can leave this comment either directly under the use case. That is very similar to when I'm doing my code review now, and I want to leave a comment, for example, here at this line of code, I can leave a comment exactly at that change. So similar here, I can leave my comment exactly at that stage. Or, and that is something that I also need to do in case I want to finish the review in the end, I always need to review my changes and then leave a general comment or approve or request changes and then submit the review. And exactly that's what we implemented with Widgetbook Cloud as well. So we can either leave a general comment, we can approve, or we can request our changes. And the clue is here with Widgetbook, only after I approve those changes here in Widgetbook Cloud, only then I can merge my pull request. So Widgetbook is a check here, an automated check, and how it should work. I mean, you can in the end set the rules as you like, of course, but what we recommend, and what most of our customers are doing, is they use Widgetbook in a way that they have an automated check running here that is basically pending unless you have not reviewed all of the UI changes yet. So once you submitted your review here in Widgetbook Cloud and approved all changes, then this check here turns green, and then you can safely merge with confidence. If you haven't, the check stays pending, or if you even request changes, then the check immediately turns red, fails, and you cannot merge your pull requests anymore. So that is what we recommend you to do as a setup. And Alan, in case someone has any questions, I mean, just feel free to jump in and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to proceed.
Okay. We have one question. Let me put here that I take no time to.
Yeah,
it's from Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Is the comment support linkings? I mean, add a reference for Figma, for example.
Yes, they do. So you can leave links here. But for Figma, for example, we even have a better integration. So, I mean, first of all, you can leave. So, first of all, yes, you can leave a link in here. But then what you can do, especially for Figma, you have the chance to basically link your Figma design exactly to the widgets. And I mean, unfortunately, I can only share one screen with you. So don't try it at home like this. Use your different screens. But in case you only have this one screen, like I do right now, that I can share, you will still get the idea. And the idea is you have the chance to have a side-by-side comparison between that's how the primary button looks in Figma versus that's how the primary button looks in Flutter. And you can either compare to this screenshot here, or what you can also do is you can always click on this view build. And now I have to jump here quickly because the other is outdated. And if I basically click on the view build, I'm always navigated exactly to that use case that we see here in the Widgetbook cloud example.
Great. So we have no more questions, so I can proceed.
Okay, awesome. Then I only have one more feature that I'd like to show you. And this feature allows you to automatically test all the different add-ons of your widgets. So in case you are familiar with golden tests, everything I just showed you should look really familiar for you, because Widgetbook just generates golden tests for you out of the box, and you don't need to write them anymore. So basically, if you're using Widgetbook, we take care of your golden tests, have a managed service for you. You don't need to worry about anything. We just take care of that for you. And with golden tests, what you often want to do is you want to make sure that you're not only taking those screenshots in one configuration, but that you test all of your widgets, for example, on different device sizes, on different languages, in different text scale factors, in different themes, different languages, and so on. And that is a feature that is very similar to our add-ons here, where in the add-ons, we like to test our widgets in different device sizes, different locals, different themes, and so on. And with Widgetbook, we can also test that automatically. So what we can do is, in our app annotation, we can configure so-called cloud add-on configurations, our cloud add-ons configs. And they allow us to specify certain configurations that are automatically tested. For example, we want to test with our demo app German language, English language, light mode, dark mode. So what we specify here is we want to test one configuration is German light, German language and light mode. Another is German dark, German language, dark mode. Another is English light mode. Another is English dark mode. And how this can look now in Widgetbook Cloud is when I'm clicking on this review, and here I tricked you a bit. So basically this review that I had is a bit outdated, but it's the simpler example to start with for the beginning. But if I go from here to our review, we would now see all of our changes that we just had. So in the end, our primary button and the different basket views, we would see them now in German light, English dark, English light, German dark. So always in the specific add-on configurations. Yeah. And these are all the features that you can use for Widgetbook Cloud. What is important to understand is that in case you have a bigger team where you also have designers and QA testers, what I really encourage you to do is to also include designers and QA testers in this process. So really shift left and try to capture as many UI changes and try to involve as many stakeholders as early as possible in the process, because right here it's a lot easier to iterate with the team and to have a lot more confidence of merging your pull request and therefore then shipping to your customers. And with that, Ellen, does anyone have any questions regarding the product?
Okay, no, just some comments. Congratulations. Fabio said sick when
Cool.
telling about the golden test. He said that the golden test is a pain.
Yeah.
So that's also. I think this we got some previous questions. I asked in a community, and we got two. I think one you answer that was the self-hosting Widgetbook.
Yeah, so you can obviously. So what we see a lot is that our open source users start with just hosting Widgetbook themselves. But when you host it yourself, you usually only have one version of your hosted Widgetbook, and you don't have the automated review feature. So basically, what you do not have is this integration with GitHub or any other Git provider, and you don't have the chance to easily review your widgets in this way. So all of that is then not possible, but you can obviously start by just self-hosting the open source package.
Great. And another one was I think you mentioned too, is about the monorepo workspace with micro front end, malus, and so on.
Yeah, that is actually what I was explaining. That's basically the recommended way. So if there's one dream scenario, in my opinion, how you use Widgetbook, that's the way to go.
Great. And then I think it's the last call for question, guys. If someone has another question, just send.
Exactly. Otherwise, we can wrap it up.
Great.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, then maybe some last words here. So what we found out together with our customers. So for example, we had a call. We had last year at FlutterCon Europe, which is the biggest Flutter conference that is hosted worldwide. There are always around 1,000 Flutter developers. We brought 3 selected customers with us on stage who are using the open source package and also Widgetbook Cloud back then already for some month. So the product is now really stable already, so no worries, already live for a year plus. And they found that the developers and also the designers save 20% of their time by using Widgetbook, because you're shifting left in the testing process and just capture all of those UI issues a lot sooner. And then your team can live together happily ever after. And yeah, I mean, if you want to get started with Widgetbook Cloud as well, you can. You can just follow the link to our website, and you are then going to see that here on the pricing page, we even have a free tier to start with. So no worries. Not only the open source package is free to use anyways, and also the cloud is free to start. And I mean, we are definitely happy to support you along the way.
That's great. So I think that's it. So again, Lucas, thank you so much for your time and the great presentation here for us. And see you next year. And be welcome anytime you want to.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot. Obrigado.
Obrigado. That's it, guys. Thanks so much. And that is it.